Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes,
Facts, boots.
and other stuff.
In this week's issue, Kinky Aunt May is in trouble.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by Mike. I just decided that I
think I got demoted.
No,
what just
I
happened?
realized that in my efforts to just like try to keep it going and make it as long as possible, that maybe I was overdoing it. So
Sure.
now I'm just trying to keep it simple.
Well, I
we'll
have
see how that
already
works.
been told once today that I'm bougie, and so I'm assuming that that's where this all stems from. And now,
no, actually, no.
I've all of a sudden been assigned the moniker of the man or whatever, and everybody's going to fight against me. Right? Is that how this works?
Yeah, I just made just to include the listeners in on this, I showed up and Mike was being very nice and said, "Hey, if you'd like something to drink and it's not in the fridge in the area where it is, you can maybe find something in my office."
Yeah.
Now, Mike, you haven't always had an
I
office
have not
here.
always had an office. You're right.
So
about
I just took the opportunity to make the joke and tell him that he's starting to act rather bougie now. My
I said my
office.
office,
Yeah.
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But no, the shortening of it had nothing to do with that. It was just me just trying to
Where I get
keep it
my
simple.
hand play under my desk.
Oh, Mike, at that point, I think you're just masturbating at
Oh,
work.
shit. Sorry. Sorry. I gave up a little too much. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, man. All right. Well,
That's
hey,
how we start this one.
Are you feeling
That's right.
in the mood for Valentine's Day?
Hey.
It's going to be really creepy that we made that joke here in about 5 minutes, okay? Just wait. Just wait. So,
That's too fast.
this is technically the day before, but it's close
this
enough.
is coming out on the 13th?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's close enough for a Valentine's Day episode.
It's that far into February?
Yeah, we're already.
Oh, no.
Dude, time flies.
When you're
And
doing
no,
a
that's just
podcast.
it. It flies.
It just flies.
So we kind of had a Valentine's Day episode in a weird way last week, where what started out as me just trying to find who would
Open
be
mouth
the
kiss
worth.
Namor.
I don't remember talking about that. But we looked into just some terrible, who would be potential terrible Valentines, and that would be Hank Pym, specifically the Ultimates universe Hank Pym.
He's a terrible person.
But then that also led us, Ultimates, of course, the first volume there, written by Mark Miller, who we then covered, either way, who we then covered his latest, or one of his latest books. He also has a bunch kind of out right now. But looking at Nemesis Reloaded, because we had fun the first time Nemesis came out, looked at something more recent there. So kind of just looked at Mark Miller's work in a way. And I told you last week it led into our Valentine's Day episode
Yes.
because Mark Miller wrote what we're about to get into now.
Sure.
Real quick.
Wait, he wrote these two? Oh, I didn't realize that, I guess. Okay.
I thought we talked about it.
You did.
Mason, did we talk about it last week?
It's just coming back to me. You know what I mean?
No,
I mean,
I
it's
just want
like,
to-
yeah.
Yes, you did.
Thank you. So before I get into that,
I
if
feel like
you
everyone's
enjoyed,
against me all of a sudden. I don't understand
if you enjoyed
what
Nemesis
You
Reloaded
could go
1,
hide in your office then.
that's true. Run away from us, go be the man away from,
that's
the
right.
rest of
That's
your
what I
team
wanna
here.
do. That's it.
But
Team.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. You're
I
trying
know,
to be the
gotta get
individual of this
jerseys.
working team here.
Hey, how'd you enjoy that Super Bowl? It was good, huh? It was a good game.
Hold on. You play it that way. Let me play it the other way. I don't know, Mike. I think it could have been better.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can see how, insert point total here, could have been more.
But you know what? I do believe either good or bad performance is the reason why insert player here either won or didn't win said award.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just thought it was crazy when Tom Brady just decided to streak in the middle of the field Just
Sure.
that was his final going
And
away
now
to the NFL.
We've dated
Yeah,
it. We've dated
that's
it.
true.
with
We have
that,
dated
though.
it. Thanks a lot, Mason. You really ruined
Or
it.
I'm a
Or he's-
fortune teller.
Yeah.
No, you're
I'm
a
a fortune teller. That's
we
gonna come back.
If we come back to record next week's episode, we are going to have to spend a lot of time on that if that ends up happening.
Well, if that happens, Mason's going to go buy us some lottery tickets.
Oh,
That's
that's
what's going to
true,
happen.
too.
Yeah.
well, the beauty of
I'm
it
afraid
is-
we'll never see Mason again if that happens.
Well,
'cause-
here's what happens. The thing is, we'll know Sunday night, so we can get the head start before all the listeners hop on it too and know about it.
That's
before
true.
there's audio proof.
That's true.
out
We
there.
could edit this to
and just be like,
reflect
hey.
that we were like, oh yeah, that
And-
game was good.
Well, no.
That game sucked.
I'm talking about us finding out about Mason's powers, and then we can just keep that for ourselves.
That's true.
I
That's true. We would
That's
cut that.
assuming I don't like block your numbers immediately.
That's true.
After,
and I would
just for
if I were
safekeeping.
you. Yeah, I would
Oh,
block
for
those
sure.
numbers immediately.
So,
You're going to have such a hard time, Mason. I'm sorry.
with
Well,
what I was gonna
with
say.
those powers comes responsibility.
that is true.
So if I learned anything from Spider-Man,
Yeah.
it's whatever
It's-
you had to say
You know
next.
what? These are very fitting words, Mike, and we'll see if
Sure.
we realize
Let's
just
do
how
it.
fitting they are. So,
How about that
also-
snooker championship, though, huh? That was good.
didn't watch that.
Oh, damn it.
So the Super Bowl on Sunday. You got our episode here to get you ready for Valentine's Day.
That's it. That's all you need.
And then on the 15th, if you want it to, the second issue of Nemesis Reloaded comes out. So there you go.
Oh, That's quite a week.
Yeah.
I would have to lay down and take a nap.
I'm just plugging everything that I know Mark
Sure.
Miller before we get into this. So let me go ahead and give you a little background.
Please do.
Into what we're talking about today before we actually get into it, just so you know.
It is in
context.
a red file folder. He has it secured away from me so that I cannot see it.
Yes, and there's a reason why, and we
Yeah.
will get to it all.
Yeah.
But let me take you to Marvel Comics early 2000s.
Okay.
Okay, they've just come out of bankruptcy.
Yeah.
There's a guy by the name
This
of
when they tried to sell to DC and all that stuff.
all that. Well,
right?
like the movie rights selling
the
everything.
whole thing. Yeah. This is
So,
why Sony's even involved.
But Joe Quesada's, I think, the head of Marvel. Bill Jemas is there too. These are names that we will get into one day too,
Okay.
because there is what is probably the worst comic book ever printed by Marvel,
Oh.
at least in my opinion. And it's not rightfully, but it's oddly titled Marville, that Bill Jemas wrote. That is the only time he had ever written a comic book at the time. And Marvel,
Really?
we'll get into all that at a time. But still, because it all comes between, well, I got to save all that for
Okay,
another episode.
all right.
Anyway, these guys are working on trying to bring Marvel, back out of the dregs in a
Sure.
way.
Yeah.
They're able to get Marvel Knights to take off. The Ultimate Universe really hits big for them. And even though Hank Pym was just a terrible person, the Ultimates is really popular.
Marvel Knights is the one where they're all dressed up like knights. Is that what we're talking
No.
about? Or is this like an
Focus
after
more
dark
on,
kind
like
of thing?
street level heroes for the most
Oh,
part.
Yeah.
okay. All right. I got you. Sure.
So Daredevil was a big one of
Yeah.
Marvel Knights.
Yeah.
But so like Marvel started to see kind of a pickup in interest.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Miller's Ultimates, even though Hank Pym was a right bastard, I don't think there's any way to put it, people tend to like the run there on Ultimate. So he
Okay.
got a lot of kind of, praise for it, and rightfully so in some eyes, and others. It depends on what you feel about Mark Miller.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you how to believe about that. But-
I love him.
Well, that's good. But a lot of times you see comic book writers, it seems, in a way of once they have something really big, they usually kind of take on a different project and just to kind of
Sure.
like
Yeah.
back away a bit.
Yeah.
So, because
Yeah.
people are going to expect something similar
Yeah,
after
that makes sense.
So a lot of times you've seen them, I think they'll, do a horror book or something like this. Mark Miller did something different, and he went with romance, which kind of make it something completely different from what he was working on. Now let's think, he's done the Ultimates. He's, wrote Hank Pym sicking ants on his,
Sure.
wife, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So romance seems like it makes a
A
logical
real
sense.
alcoholic, like wife abuser kind
Yeah.
of.
But
he was an alcoholic, right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think pills. It ends up being pills
Okay.
later on. Yeah.
His pills are small.
But that's true.
Yes.
Bill Jemas decides that he wants to launch a new line at Marvel of of creator-owned stories called Marvel Epic. And to launch this, he is teamed up. I'm going to have to hold this. I'm not going to let you look at it. I just want to make sure that I obviously get names. But they talk about for the first book here is this, which is called Trouble. What they wanted to do was try to, you remember the romance comics we have covered all the time?
Absolutely love them.
Well, we got to try to find a way to bring, it could either be
You're
potentially
too fat
try
for
to
the
bring,
train. Or
try to
whatever.
bring female listeners back in, Females don't necessarily read comics.
You're a woman. You can't be loved. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Where the goal was always to be married.
Yes,
That was
yes.
all of it. But so they thought, well, we can try to bring them back in with some romance stories of our own.
Yeah.
Why not bring in Mark Miller, who is looking to do something, here's the thing. Kick-Ass hasn't happened. He hasn't gone full Miller yet.
Right.
He's done a lot of comic work because he's been writing since the early 90s.
He's straddling that line between the stuff that he's going to do and the stuff that he has done in the past.
Well, exactly.
Right.
It's the stuff that he's known for that's about to happen.
Right.
But he's done work for like Sonic the Hedgehog comics and stuff like
I
think
you were
Hanna-Barbera
Sonic the
comics.
restaurant.
No, I don't know if there are.
He draws a wicked chili dog.
But I mean, so like he has experience. I don't want it to sound like he doing romance might be out of.
Yeah.
But it just seems out of character with what we know him for.
Wanted
Especially
will come out the same year.
So Wanted does come out later. That is one of the ones that also
I don't know
is
what
a
that
big
one
hit
is.
for him.
What is
it?
that one?
Yeah.
I'll let Mason explain Wanted more than I'm not
What is
necessarily familiar with
Wanted?
it.
Wanted's basically where instead of a world run by superheroes, it's run by super villains.
Oh.
Super edgy, super violent.
So
Not a good book, but
It's a big Mark
Miller,
a good idea, but not a
Miller
good
stuff.
book.
But I will say, super edgy, super violent. Miller trademarks heading forward. Though,
Right.
It's definitely
Oh, I
in the
could-
early 2000s.
I could
Yeah,
tell you that
so,
now.
yeah.
With the stuff I've
So that's why this is going to seem weird. A lot that I will also kind of give it away a bit is I went back and I found an interview with Bill Jemas. Some of the comments, who again is one of the head guys there at Marvel at the time, talking about this book here. Some of the comments he says I will save for later in the show where they're appropriate.
Okay.
Because I don't want to give some of it away. But others, they said that, they wanted to go ahead and try run again at romance comics.
Okay.
They wanted to try to appeal to, a female audience base.
Yeah.
And also they thought that maybe this story could kind of be used as a, I don't know, if somebody falls into the same kind of pitfalls in life. I don't want to say necessarily advice, but like hey, other people have been there, just kind of relate, like from older people they wanted it to be a book that teens could read and be like, oh, okay, like others have gone through that problem. Like, here's how they did. I guess, kind of learn from examples in a way. Keep this in mind while we're reading.
I got you.
Too.
Yeah.
Also, it's a little weird, and I mean, maybe it's for this all to be written by a middle-aged man, but still, not against Mark Miller, just the thought in general of hey, teen girls, this is a story you should follow.
Yeah.
Either way, but they also asked them about the covers of these books at the time, Mike, because that is a big thing about this comic. Not only the story, which everybody hates, it seems for the most part.
Yeah.
I have yet to come across anybody who has liked it, whether it be YouTube, Reddit, anywhere on the internet. I'm sure some people do. I will say that there are parts about this comic, because I read the whole thing. There are parts about it I found at times where I was like a little interested. A lot of the times, no, though. And a lot of the times,
it's not the worst story in the world. It's just
a lot of poor
in a
execution.
different execution, and maybe in a different universe, maybe this could have worked.
So the big thing, though, I was
Like
talking
a
about,
different universe from ours?
we'll see. You'll
or
see.
just the Marvel universe?
When you get there, we'll see.
Okay. All right.
So,
Both.
but they ask about the covers in a later interview afterwards. So I've read a bunch of different. Let's cut to later. They talked about, I think Mark Miller was talking when they asked him about the covers of this.
Yeah.
He told them that what they did was they based it off of romance covers at the time of like teen romance books. So Marvel kind of went and did this research, and they found out, hey, this is what's on those covers.
Yeah.
So we're going to do live action covers.
Okay.
They're kind of a little creepy live action covers.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Because I don't know the age of the models on the covers.
They don't look 18.
But they don't look 18, and it looks like they're supposed to be.
It's a very Lolita type cover.
Yes, that seems to be what they're going for. They talked about that it was, what was on the cover of the teen romance books at the time, so they were trying to emulate it.
Right there. That's
but
rough.
I will never claim to know what teen girls like. When we get to
it's a bold stance you've taken.
I know.
Yeah.
When we get to some of the other covers, I will beg to argue that they didn't either. But we open Trouble.
That is just creepy,
issue
man. Yeah,
it is.
That's just super creepy.
It is, but that's at least, I figured that as soon as I'd show you, you'd be like, why did they do that?
Good.
That's why it's a French photographer.
Well, the other thing
took
is
the cover.
Yeah.
The other thing is the cover is just not well done.
I know.
Like design wise, it looks terrible. Like the way this is set right on top of the photo and stuff. Like, so the word trouble is in a very like Arial font, but it's not even a heavy font. It's a very skinny font, and the word seems to be kerned way out, like a lot of spacing between the letters.
Yeah.
And then it just sets on top of and I'm just describing for people listening, but it just sets on top of the photo, it's just terrible design.
And this is probably a better thing in hindsight, but when this first came out, if you have to look for the Marvel logo, the epic logo.
Yeah.
You have to look for it
at the top left.
I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good now in hindsight, but like when this came out, I don't know how people were supposed to be interested in it.
Yeah. Well, this is the first release of the Marvel epic.
No, you buy this. You buy this in an airport and take it on a plane. You're going to get watched,
right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that it makes it weird. I feel like you're just kind of alienating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're alienating these two 15-year-old girls that are on the front of this thing, number one.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe they are of age.
Nope.
I can't tell if they are or not,
Nope.
and that's what's worrisome. So, either way, let's go ahead and get into our story,
Sure.
Mike. Our story, and again, this is 5 issues. I'm not going to cover every single thing. There will be some parts of the story that I will obviously skip over because either it's not important or it just wasn't good. So... we are introduced to our main characters. It's a pair of brothers.
Okay.
Richie and Ben.
Well, those don't look anything like the two girls that are on the cover.
No, that's the thing too, is they don't necessarily look like, I guess
They
you
don't
can
have
tell
anything
later
to do
they're
with the
supposed
people
to be.
that are in the stories.
No.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
the beauty of it is too, is also if you read the intros, because each issue has like a previously on.
Yeah.
It's like the person who wrote those didn't necessarily read the story because there's multiple times where it references stuff that didn't happen in the issues before.
This is very much so the art in general.
Let me.
looks very much like old Spider-Man comics. Like that looks very Spider-Man-y.
That's funny.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. I mean, not that. I'm talking about inside.
Oh yeah, inside.
It's very shiny.
Yeah.
You know how Spider-Man was real plasticky for a while?
Yeah.
It was very shiny looking.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
No,
what
I get
that
it.
looks like. Yeah. Looks like it's all airbrushed.
I should say though, I go ahead and talk about the art too, because Terry Dotson and Rachel Dotson, husband and wife team, did the art for this, and the art isn't bad.
No,
like
it's
the
not.
art works for the genre, and they're again,
especially for the genre. Yeah.
This is a very romantic comics field. There are times though where some of it's questionable. We'll get to some of that.
This looks a lot like a more realistic Archie. Is what it
There
looks
you
like.
go.
You know,
so we can tell that our scene kind of sets. We're back in time. And this is part of the problem of this book is we can't really tell when.
Yeah.
There's things that make you think it should be 60s. There's things that maybe it should be 70s. It's just all kind of all over the place.
Well, I can tell you this Mustang is somewhere. It's from the 60s.
Well,
Or maybe
Mustangs
a
didn't
little
start until
later.
1963.
Right.
So it's at least later than 63.
I had a 68 and I had a 67.
I think there's a reference later. I'm not going to probably I'll probably get to it later too, because I think it's funny that they're trying to poke fun at DC. But they do reference comic cents being 10 cents and 12 cents. So we know, I feel like it thinks that it's supposed to be around the 60s.
What's wrong with this child's ankle?
He has terrible, easily break ankle syndrome.
It's Glassman syndrome.
Yeah. So
Samuel
we're
L.
introduced to our main characters here, which are 2 brothers, Richie and Ben.
Yep.
That's Richie's dad and Richie's mom.
Sure.
And then
I love how they tuck their t-shirts in.
oh yeah, you know it.
my
And then
favorite
2 friends, Mary is the blonde and May is the redhead.
Okay.
So Richie, Ben, Mary, and May.
Mary and May.
Okay. Now, it's a similar situation. They're both going up to the Hamptons to work at this fancy resort for the summer.
Okay.
Right? They just graduated school.
So we're dirty dancing our way into this story.
All the other kids want to hang around this town, but we want to go do something with our lives.
Sure.
Essentially what it's going to be, we're going to find out because it's a romance comic. We're just going to try to bank.
Who's the guy with the big forehead?
That is May's dad.
Oh.
Are you talking about over here?
Well, that's a weird embrace for a father and daughter.
That is May's dad.
All right.
There's a lot of weirdness between them, and we'll get to that later.
Well, there's just so much touching on these 2 pages. Look at all the touching.
Well, it's a romance comic, Mike. It's all touchy-feely.
Well, okay, that's great, but maybe not with dad and sis.
So just to kind of introduce our characters a little bit, we kind of see that Richie's dad's really into him, and Richie souped up this Mustang that his dad's given to him. Like Richie seems to be the favorite. We can kind of just tell from the beginning.
Oh, Richie
and between Richie and Ben
are
here,
brothers or whatever.
Richie and Ben are brothers. I said that.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. It's been a long damn day, man. Come on. I was bougie in my office all day.
I know. My bad. So Richie and Ben are brothers.
Okay.
Richie seems to be the dad's favorite.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to, things that you might need to know for later.
I like this band.
You do?
His shirt. Yeah, it's really nice.
It's just square.
I love the yellow squares.
It makes an appearance later on again,
Does
too.
It really?
On a different character.
Oh, wow.
So
that's weird.
And then also, I'll let May introduce herself the best way, because what they do to start this, essentially, so it's just, the parents telling the kids bye as they leave. And when they get on the bus, May informs Mary that she has snuck some of her dad's bourbon, and they toast as they head up to the Hamptons for, their summer of all these great things to happen. And I'll let the writing do here, because we have May writing in her diary.
Okay. All right. That's a good device.
Dear Diary. It kind of is setting the scene for this, so I feel it's appropriate to read.
My dad hugged me really hard.
Before I left. No. Dear Diary, I have decided that keeping a diary is a dumb, immature teenage stereotype. And so this entry will be the very last time you should ever actually hear from me. Hold on. Now I can't read.
She understands that the diary is not living and breathing, right? I mean, it's not.
Why waste all these precious hours and minutes writing something that nobody else is supposed to read? Why put all your thoughts and feelings down on paper when they're only going to get you into trouble later and would be so much safer within the confines of your head? Kind of solid.
The confines of your head. Yeah, it's nice and solid until you take the time to write it out.
That's the thing. Her writing, they're using it obviously.
Yeah. No, I understand it's a storytelling device.
I will point out something.
That's a dude writing, not understanding
that's
why
exactly,
girls write in
You're
diaries.
absolutely right about that. Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a lot of it.
That is a middle-aged guy writing a girl's diary. Is what that is. Yeah.
But I will say, I thought this was clever. That how they have credits in books sometimes. They did it on here. Well, no, you open it, it gives.
I got you. Yeah,
they gave the credits this way as
that's
billboards.
Cool. Yeah. That actually is a really good.
That is a really cool idea.
Cool device,
and I thought that was really cool.
Like that. Wait a minute. What are these? So they're saying these 2 people are pigs?
Well, no, they're just like the mascots of that. Eat 24 hours. Haven't you always loved to eat?
It's called Eat 24 hours. Eat it.
That was aggressive.
These pigs love it. Eat it.
Yeah. So,
have I told you about how much I hate those kind of signs, where the animals are happy that you're eating them?
Yeah, that is very strange, isn't it?
Isn't it weird? You see those all the time, where a pig is like, I'm so happy you're here to eat my leg.
Oh,
whatever.
All right, let me get back to finish.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm taking you down a rabbit hole.
You are. I'm just trying to make sure this doesn't turn into 2 hours.
Sure.
Because this could.
Okay, let's go.
I understand what you're saying. Because see, I agree with you, and I don't want to eat an animal thinking that that's
you're
the
fine.
animal I'm eating.
Go.
Why if it's a pig? Why do you serve anything pork?
I think everybody's got my point.
At least with Chick-fil-A, it's cow's mascot, and they don't serve anything beef, so I can get behind that.
It doesn't turn my stomach when I look at it.
All right,
it's honestly funny.
Let me pick back up with May's diary
May's
entry.
Drunk ass diary.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if diaries were just an ingenious device created by mothers to find out what kind of dirty stuff their daughters were really getting into. Other times I wonder if moms just read them to find out what they're missing in their old age.
Oh.
Because people apparently can't have sex after they're teenagers is what we're finding out here. So, But the irony, of course, is that the amount of time you spend writing about life is indirectly proportionate to the amount of time you spend living it. What the
I'm sorry. He got through reading, and I just had a picture of this pig licking this girl's butt in a cartoon.
What the fuck, Mike?
I don't know. It's just.
Oh, can we put the red E on this episode? Oh, man. So.
Well, I'm sorry. I was trying to get to this one, right, where the pig is cutting itself in half, and it's very happy about it.
Yes,
it'll
that
cut
is
you
weird.
Some intestine steaks. I'm sorry, but the one with the pig licking the girl's butt came up first. Sorry.
I don't even know where I was.
All right. Okay. So the diary is dumb, and now she's back to it.
Here. Oh, this is something that I just was weird to me. Why speculate about kissing someone when a living, breathing person will stick their hand up your sweater with hardly any coercing at all?
Boy, if I've said that one time, I've said it a million.
Anyway, so
That's why I wear sweaters.
essentially May writes in this diary about, hey, we're all going to go have tons of fun up here in the Hamptons. It's everything you think about.
Yeah.
It's supposed to
Naked
be romance.
roller coasters.
What is romance mean in here? A bunch of sex.
What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me. Okay. So we're
just one of those
introduced to Trouble.
Oh my God!
Part
That is-
1, a big splash
that
page
is
here.
beautiful,
It is
though.
very gorgeous. I'm gonna have to speed this up a little bit.
When he got to this point, he was like, I hate drawing this shit. Here's a
This
big
dark
tree.
yeah. Or it's, as this one's called, the summer everybody lost it, which I'm assuming is supposed to refer to virginity, but the way that somebody acts. Anyway, not that I'm necessarily commenting on a teenager's sex life. I realize that was just weird for me. And
You got your peanut butter in my chocolate.
hi, I'm Officer Reese's. So there you go.
Officer Reese's.
It's the Family Guy bit.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
never seen that, but it's fantastic.
Seriously?
No, I don't watch Family Guy
Okay, there's
anymore.
a Family
I
Guy
just haven't
bit.
watched it
I'm
forever.
sure everybody loves us just interrupting with this. There's a Family Guy bit where there's a car
They're all
accident.
gone at this point.
Yeah, there's a
They're
car accident, and like the guy's eating peanut butter out of the jar, and another guy's eating a Hershey bar, and they break through the windshields, and it sticks between. He's like, "You got your peanut butter and my chocolate. You got to try my peanut butter." And he's like, "I'm Officer Reese's. What is here?" And he picks it up, and he takes a bite of peanut butter on the chocolate bar, and he goes, and then shoots both of them. And that's how we have Reese's. So
There you go.
let me speed it up a little bit. Essentially, our main characters here of
Poor Zach.
Richie, Ben, Mary, and May
Yeah.
are all there to earn a living and to
do
find
it.
some cute boys and to do it. We're introduced to the head of the resort here, whose name is Mr. Peter Howard Shelby.
Peter Howard Shelby.
Mr. Shelby and his wife are both sticklers, more so Mr. Shelby, about there'll be no fornicating. You know, you guys aren't going to have fun. We're going to keep you having so much work to do that you won't even have time to get up to, you know, any kind
You'll
of
be
crazy
so tired you won't
things.
even be able to get it up.
Exactly.
Is what he says right there. He doesn't say that.
Oh, okay. Then we get montages of just how much work they actually do have to do, which it is a lot of work. And the poor people have to deal with a bunch of terrible, terrible guests. May here is essentially told a woman, "Hey, can you settle a bet for us?" And May says yes. And the woman says, "Is English your first language?" And she goes, "Well, yeah, it's the only language I know." And she goes, "Well, why did you mess up like this order?" Like, it's just really
gosh,
crappy
yeah.
clientele.
And there's a lot of pictures of them like cleaning things.
Yeah,
and
like,
picking
it's
up
not-
after the guests.
I
and
think they
stuff.
thought it was going to be more fun than it was.
Sure.
It's not, but because
there's
they
hardly
work.
any sex in those panels.
No, there's not. But
Yeah.
just wait.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great.
But just wait. Yeah, Mike,
Can't
I got
wait.
you. But so they kind of
I
start.
don't like that context.
What?
When I'm saying there's hardly any sex in those panels, he goes, "Yeah, Mike, I got you." I was like,
do.
I don't.
Oh, I got you tenfold, Mike. Just wait. This is Marvel, by the way. Not that. I mean, it's not really anything
I got you.
gratuitous or anything
I
like
got
that.
you, sure.
But so
Why is Pablo
we
Picasso
see that
so
there's a
good?
bond that's starting to develop between kind of Richie and Ben and Mary and May, and they're
Okay.
kind of forming a friendship.
Yeah, out of angst
Just,
or
yeah,
whatever.
working
their
together. Plus-
collective.
Plus, there's just there's
Trouble.
a bunch of horny teens, man.
Wait.
They just graduated high school.
They're all in trouble.
They're all in trouble. So the guys are getting ready and they're talking about, hey,
It's just a bunch of horny teenagers that
That's
just
right.
graduated college or high school. Sorry.
and they're
college
getting
would've been
ready,
so much
and
better.
Ben's going over with Richie, like, hey, so the half open means this, like fully with blinds, like what you're gonna do.
Okay.
And then they start talking about the girls. And Richie says, I think I might see if Mary's interested. I might try to dance with Mary.
dance with it.
And Ben, well, I don't remember exactly what they said. I'm just paraphrasing.
That's fine.
here.
Yeah. Whatever. The old horizontal dance.
Yeah. And then Ben's like, really? I thought you would go after May. May seems to be the more fun, just
Right.
kind of,
Right.
flirty, sexy one. And Richie's like, no, essentially, Richie says, if I take all the easy women, like, there'll be none for
There'll
you.
be nothing left for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, I'm paraphrasing there too, but that's
Sure.
essentially what's
Yeah.
said.
Such a good brother.
Yeah. Such a good brother. Richie.
Dance tonight.
Yeah, that's how you know there's a dance tonight. Such a
giant
good brother.
sign.
Richie is just trying to get Ben laid, man. But of course, Richie is having a lot of fun with Mary out there as well. Ben and May are actually getting along really well too.
I thought this was a barber pole. at
No,
first.
that's
I
a
thought-
dress.
I thought they were dancing around a barber
Yeah,
pole.
no, that's a dress. But May and Ben are also getting along really well, and they decide
Yeah.
to kind of leave and take things somewhere else.
Oh.
And May takes him outside and says, let's go skinny dipping. And May just
Oh.
strips down and
That's
runs
it.
in there.
That's it. You picked the right one.
And Mary's too afraid. I feel kind of weird talking about this, especially I'm not going to do voices because that makes it weirder.
People are fake.
That fine, fair enough. So May goes like, oh, I'm too afraid. Like, and she's like covering herself. She's
Yeah.
obviously the more just kind of
Demure.
coy
Yeah,
one of the
sure,
group.
Sure.
But all of a sudden, one of the boys comes up from underneath the water and puts him on her shoulder. And they're just like playing chicken and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They notice Mr. Shelby is out on
Naked
patrol.
chicken.
So they quickly kind of run and sneak past Mr. Shelby to get away from him. Mr. Shelby does find May's top, and as she's holding it, Mr. Shelby's wife comes upon Mr. Shelby holding it.
Oh, no.
He's got a lot of explaining to do.
Isn't that so funny?
Yeah, it's never brought up again, though.
Why is she screaming shark attack?
I don't. Oh, because he is,
Oh,
not she.
She is too, isn't she?
Richie
Or
is.
just him? Okay.
So obviously the night's gone well.
They're playing horse or whatever you call
Chicken,
it.
I thought,
Chicken,
right?
chicken horse.
When
Yeah,
you're
it's
on
chicken.
They're playing watery chicken horse.
water chicken, whatever.
And
Think
one
of-
of them is shouting shark attack. I thought maybe they were in shark water.
Maybe they're playing water shark attack. I don't know.
water shark tag
Tag team.
frisbee.
Sharknado.
So
Sharknado. They're playing Sharknado.
So then what we have is the night's obviously gone well. Ben and May go back to one room. Richie and Mary go back to their others. Things start to get hot and heavy between Richie and Mary. One thing I didn't like rereading this, and maybe it's just because it's a different time now. Like, you have to think this was written almost 20 years ago now
Sure.
at this point.
20 years, yeah.
And so I feel like we have come away, but there was a panel where like it has them, it's cutting between Ben and May and Richie and Mary back and forth. And it's going great for Ben and May, and Mary's kind of trying to get Richie to slow down. She does say, Richie, stop. This is all happening too fast. Slow down. Richie replies, I'm sorry, but this is all out of my hands now, Mary. I'm afraid I just passed complete control over to little Richie on this one, baby. Is that not kind of skeezy to read now?
Wait.
Yeah, it's pretty skeezy.
Little Richie.
His dick.
His wiener?
Yeah, he calls it his little Richie.
Little Richie.
Little wiener.
For any of our younger
Little
male
Richie Wiener.
audience
I
members,
think we've already said a lot of different,
for our younger male audience members, if she says stop,
stop.
you can stop.
Yeah.
You can
Yes.
control it. Also, no, I promise you this: no woman likes when you call your thing
Little whatever your name is. Yeah,
no woman likes that.
That is facts.
Really?
Big facts, mate.
Huh.
Your wife hasn't
I
told you that?
I had hats made.
All right, I'll see how that goes for y'all's
God damn it,
anniversary.
Mike.
So,
Little Mickey.
your name's Mike, though.
I know. I changed.
So eventually, and then she says, Richie, I'm serious. Like, she has to get stern with him.
I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Your name's Mike. Not after the bris. No, it's Mickey. I don't know why that was funny to me in my head. It wasn't funny after it came out.
All right.
I felt like I needed to complete the joke.
Fair enough. So Richie's finally like, all right, Mary, take it easy. You're making me feel like the Hillside Strangler or something.
Oh,
What's
no.
wrong?
That's why you say like 70s.
See?
Like that's a very like 70s, 80s reference.
But Again, comics were 10 cents in the 60s. It's all over the place of when this took place. And it doesn't help when what it's, what it is.
Sure.
If you haven't, I'm going to give until after the commercial break to see if you pick up on something.
All right.
Okay.
We'll do.
So Mary essentially stops Richie and she's like, hey, I just really met you. I like you, but can we just slow down a little? Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Can we just slow down a little bit? And he's like, sure. Yeah, we can. And then we see Ben and May, and Ben and May are about to kind of get after it. And Ben's like, hey, I hate to tell you, but I forgot. Where does he say? I feel like an idiot for even bringing this up, but I don't have any,
Penis.
what's, I don't have any, what's on me.
Oh.
He can't say condoms, apparently.
Oh.
And she goes, what do you mean, no big deal? Because apparently May has some what's of her own. And she looks at him with condom in hand and says, face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot. Right? And that's how we end issue 1.
To be continued with
issue 2.
Girl that looks much older than the 2 on the cover.
You would think, hold on, how did I do this? Okay, I got to make sure I'm pulling the right. So let me show you issue 2.
Oh, gross. That's worse.
I got to make sure not. Did you see the back?
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you see what it was though?
Not really.
Okay.
That's worse than the first one. That is. Because that one could be taken a couple of different ways.
Right?
Yeah.
So now, just in case you want to know, or you can Google these, but if you feel like you don't want to get caught at work with some of these weird things, I'll just describe it. Maybe the description will be good enough for you. The 2 girls from the first cover are the same girls throughout the cover shots.
Hey,
so
Mason,
the girls don't change.
Mason, what's the number for 911?
What we have is one of the girls kind of leaning up into the other one's ears, like she's whispering maybe something seductive, something, sultry. This is a very supposed to be looks, sultry and seductive cover, while the other girl whose ear is being whispered into is biting her sunglasses. Not leg, but arm. What are the
Those are
side of the glass?
The side of the glasses. That's
that goes over your ear. Isn't there a name for it? Is it an arm?
Sunglass legs.
Sure.
Doesn't really matter.
The bendy part that goes over your ear.
They know what they want. They want you to feel. They want you to take that imagery certain ways.
Yeah.
I do want to see, and I'm making sure.
Even if this is meant for younger audiences, it's
not. I don't know if I got different scans for this because I do realize that this first one here is PG plus, or maybe they're all European, and all the ones here on out are PSR plus on the rating.
What the hell's a PSR?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's a European scan. I'll look into it. My gosh, sorry, I just realized that. I can only do so much research in a week. Okay. All right.
PSR plus is the ultimate portable spectroradiometer.
Yep. Maybe
Good
they're
job,
advertising for it.
Issue 2.
Issue 2 is called What Mom Never Told Us. And I can tell you,
is that
it's
their
probably a lot. No, that's May.
Oh.
So,
she has aged since that first episode, when they get on the bus. That's an older girl. I'm just saying.
It's the same night. It is honestly just the same night.
Parental supervision recommended.
Okay. That's
PSR.
what PSR stands for.
But wait, you said the first one was what?
PG plus.
PG plus.
So
Okay.
parental
guidance plus. Okay.
So we're open to this one. I'm not going to read the recap.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Ben, you done? That's how we open.
Oh.
And Ben's like, yeah. Oh, by the way, you get a lot of O faces and stuff in here too. Soak it all. I love that movie, by the way.
That is one of my.
And he's
that is like my favorite movie of all time.
Is it? Oh, Office Space is great. If you haven't seen it, go see Office Space.
Where are you going to go see it? Go to your friend's house and watch it.
I meant like just walk to wherever you watch movies and
walk to wherever you watch. Oh, okay, in your house.
Go watch it.
To
not
a place to watch movies.
Oh,
Isn't that weird though? That is weird now to say go see this movie somewhere.
Yeah, it is. But I do like going to see movies.
I like going to the theater also, even though I don't like the people being there.
Yeah.
That's
what else was going? Ben and May.
There you go. Thank you, Mason.
Wow.
So, they get done. He asks for a cigarette. She goes, why, you smoke? He's like, no, it just seems like something cool people do. He goes, no, but I have Reese's Pieces. I don't know why I said Reese's, because I usually call them Reese's Pieces.
You don't normally call them Reese's?
No, I call them Reese's Pieces.
Huh. So you call them by the name.
I call them by
That's
its
what you're
actual
saying.
name.
Huh.
But I work with somebody who always called it Reese's.
Yeah.
I think it's just how it's set around you growing up.
I think you're right. I think it is. It's like pop or soda. And that kind of thing. Yeah.
But she goes, no, but I have Reese's Pieces,
the way
which
E.T.
did
said
come
it,
out
too.
till the late 70s.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe
Late
even the
70s?
80s.
I think it's 80s. Because I think it was right before E.T., right?
Mason's on that. But yeah.
And E.T.'s 82.
So comics are 10 cents in the 60s. We have stuff that we referenced that was in the 70s. Now we have Reese's Pieces that we might be in the 80s.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now we see.
When I look up Reese's Pieces, I don't get anything.
No. Well,
1978.
78. So
really?
So it is all over the place. So we'll speed past all their talk. They have a nice little moment between the two of them, I guess, where, Ben's kind of, we find out that Ben has been in and out of the hospital kind of as a kid. We don't know why. It's not really gone into much. But Richie's like just the super fit, super funny guy, and everybody loves him. And
he took all the oxygen in the room.
He kind of tells her, based on the fact that you could have had either one of us, how come you chose? He's telling May this. You settled for little Richie's unspectacular bigger brother.
Lol, Richie.
Yeah, little Richie. But like it's some nice character. We don't get a lot of character development.
I get you. Sure.
So a little bit that is there is we can tell that Ben obviously feels like he's less than his younger brother in a way.
Sure.
And May says why? Because that's a question little Richie would have never asked me.
Well, he can't because he's a penis.
Exactly. He can't talk. So at least they both know that he can't talk.
Sure, that's right.
But we see that little Richie had no luck, and and Mary.
You can't say that without me thinking that it's just his wiener.
Well, in this
every
case
time
it
you're
is.
mentioning it.
In this case, it is though, because
Okay.
he had
All
no
right.
luck.
Okay.
He and Mary just stayed up talking, and she's like, "I'm so glad that you did that. It's so sweet of you."
Yeah.
And as soon as she leaves, damn Bible thumping, clap happy, guitar playing priest is what he yells. So obviously he's upset. There's also a part where she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You sure you're not going to make fun of me to others and call me the Virgin Mary and stuff like that?" And he's like, "No, I like you. I wouldn't do that." Yet in the very next page, we see where his brother, Ben, when they're talking, is calling her the Virgin Mary, which means Richie probably brought it up to her and called her that.
Yeah.
So he already went back on it. Richie's not a nice guy. Keep that in mind too through all this.
All right.
None of them are. Not nice. It's just they're all the same. It's just not. We'll just get into it. So we're met with a montage then essentially of how Mary's talking about how much she loves Richie. Richie's talking about how much he wants to have sex but can't because Mary won't.
Sure.
And then Ben talks about how much he likes May, and May talks about how sex with Ben could be better, but that she's just kind of want to be a in the now guy. He wants to talk about the future and wants to, that's not her style. She wants to be wild and free and crazy.
I didn't realize they were both bellhops.
Well, I mean, they kind of do everything.
They got those little pill hats.
They were cooking earlier.
Yeah.
This is where we have the comic reference because they talk about how they make 10 cents for carrying 8 suitcases up 3 flights of stairs, man. 10 cents couldn't even buy me a freaking Superman comic these days.
That's true.
Which one? I feel it's weird though. The other guy says, "Yeah, can you believe those guys have the nerve to charge 12 cents for that crap now?" It's obviously
when the hell were comics 12 cents?
In the 60s. Honestly, I'm telling you, it's going to be early 60s.
Yeah, I'm just saying this is all over the place.
I can't remember the year
weird.
that play. So, but also, it's like they mentioned it to be Superman just so they could be. Can you believe they charged 12 cents for that crap? Like, why not just use one of your own characters? Like, even if whatever, it was just there to do a gag. But it's the early 2000s. They love to take shots at DC in the early 2000s with Marvel.
Sure.
But so that's our montage. It goes on for a while, and then we're introduced to another different kind of montage.
1962 was their first ever price increase from 10 cents to 12 cents.
1962.
Yeah.
So they're complaining about the price hike in 62.
Reese's Pieces.
When pages earlier, he ate Reese's Pieces that were invented in 1978.
And he's driving about a 68, 69 Mustang.
Now, Mike, I know that I'm usually not the comic book guy to be all about continuity is important.
Sure.
Like I agree that it should be.
Yeah.
But sometimes things are just bad. You do what you want to, but it's very hard in this story, and you'll see why, because they're trying to pinpoint a date on something, and you can't pinpoint a date when you have things from 16 years apart in the same universe.
But is this not why they came up with like the multiverse kind of thing? I mean, because then
the multiverse already exists.
But what I'm saying is, if this were in a multiverse, who cares, right? Because you could throw whatever you wanted to at it. It's fine. It's funny Steamboat Willie is over there playing on the TV, or whatever.
Yeah, I guess. But we're now introduced to another montage of them essentially going through town, May and Mary and Ben and Richie, and they're all acting like, oh, we're so fancy. Can I get another diamond ring? Is this too fancy for the ball? They're not buying any of it.
He's got a top hat, a gold chain.
They're not buying any of it. They're just pretending to be rich and fancy through town.
These bastards.
They even go on like they take a fancy car out for a spin. The sales rep for the car dealership knows they can't afford it, but said, hey, it's better than sitting in my office.
That's like an 80s Corvette.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, and also Mary has bought May a gonk, which they call it a gonk, which I did find out. In Scotland, they were called gonk trolls. We just called them trolls.
It's one of the
so it's just a troll. Yeah, but it's a troll. So
it's the kind that you go like that and his hair stands
exactly.
On end.
Ben Richie's super jealous of Ben and May just going at it because they're going at it behind this heap over here after they've gotten done eating.
Legs.
We find out why Mary does not want to have sex.
Oh,
you would think because Richie asked her, "Is it?" Well, that's one thing.
Okay.
That could be some trouble. Foreshadowing. But she also said, or he asked if it's because she's religious. Yeah. She says, yeah, that's some of it.
Sure.
But also it's because about this palm reader we went and saw. The palm reader said if I had sex before I was 20,
palm reader?
I would for sure be a mom. And Richie's like, one, he thinks it's the stupidest thing, obviously.
Well,
because he's a horned up teenager. He's like, a palm reader?
I kind of agree with you, Richie.
And then he goes, what about man? Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
The palm reader is wrong, but also not wrong because you can still get pregnant.
Yeah.
But so she's like, if I ever had sex before I was 20, I would be. I'm calling a mom. And Richie's like, well, then why is May just going at it?
If you have sex on a windy day, your hair's going to get mussed up.
That's very true.
I'm a palm reader.
And so Richie's like, well, then why is May just going to town then? And Mary's like, well, the palm reader told May the other thing, that she would never be called mom. Honestly,
okay.
That's okay.
All right.
So then we get a flash. Then we get a flash forward.
That's very irresponsible.
It is.
Of the palm reader.
We get a flash back to their working at the resort, and people from town where they were pretending to be all fancy have shown up at the resort, and they have cornered May.
Are they looking for their money?
Well, and they're like, I told you guys that she was just a maid here.
Oh.
Her acting all fancy like she ran stuff in town and being rude to people and stuff like that. Maybe we should. And they're just making fun of her in front of everybody,
Calling
right?
herself Queen Bee at the halftime of the Super Bowl.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
So we see it looks like May punches the bully, but that just turns out to be what she wishes she would have done. Oh, this is the guy with
the shirt.
Yeah, the shirt. I told you to come back.
With the big yellow square on it.
The bully wears it this one. But instead, we find out that was just kind of a dream. That's what she wishes she would have done.
Wait, she had a dream that she punched the guy?
No, this is what we see it punch, but then we flash forward, and Richie's there to comfort her because Richie was around.
Okay,
and he's like, you punched the guy's teeth out? And she goes, no, but I wish I had. So we see it was just kind of like a daydream. Instead, she's like, I just walked away and took it.
Palm reader told me to keep my palms clean.
And May's just crying, and she's upset, obviously, by all this and being picked on. And Richie's just trying to, kind of just ease her a bit.
Oh.
And he wipes her tears away, and she's like, do I look okay? Or do I look like a panda? Because she's crying, asking for makeup smeared. By the way, her makeup is not smeared at all, so it's kind of weird. And Richie just kind of looks at her, and that's kind of a goofy looking face. But
that is goofy looking face. He looks like a puppy
Richie
dog.
then leans in and kisses May.
Oh.
And then May is just kind of taken aback by it.
She does kind of look like she kissed him back in this panel.
Well, if you want,
in this panel it doesn't.
She's like, what? and then they fully embrace. Oh no, May and Richie are hooking up.
Why
His brother's girlfriend.
His brother's girlfriend,
Her
Mike.
best friend's boyfriend.
Oh no.
Why is his ass so pointy?
Mike, he has it's a
He works
disease.
out. He works out. That's why.
Family. Mike, have you figured out the twist yet? If not, I'm going to give you the commercial break. Not the twist, or you know who these people are?
Oh shit! Yeah, I guess I do.
Hold on, we'll get into that when we come back from the break right now. And we're back. Mike, who is May in this?
Is it the Spider-Man May?
It is Aunt May.
It's Aunt friggin' May.
So
And
who
Uncle
would Ben
Ben.
be?
Being a
Uncle
loosey-goosey
Ben.
here.
Peter Parker's parents are named Richard and Mary.
Oh.
Do you know where we're headed with this yet?
Yeah.
So
I did not see this coming when
that's
you started
why
this
I
thing.
wanted to get as
Yeah.
far the way through.
Good job.
But now I wanted to make sure you knew this though. So when we get to O faces and stuff,
Yeah.
you know you can see Aunt May
Sure.
getting down and dirty, or what Peter's dad looks like when he finishes.
I think he has spina bifida.
He does. Some of it's showing out kind of weirdly. Let's
Also,
go
they
ahead.
they never really have made it official whether or not this is in continuity.
So that's
really?
I should. The interview I read was when they were at least talking about the book at the beginning. Is when we first started writing this, it was called Parents, Not Trouble,
Oh, really?
and it morphed over time. But they themselves consider this to be the origin of Spider-Man. That is what Bill Jimis says in the
Gross.
interviews that he's writing. They also talk about.
I mean, like literally, when the sperm was passed to
Yes,
the egg.
this is the
this
origin
is the
of
actual
Spider-Man.
origin. Yeah.
yeah.
He does say though, when he's like, that's how we took, and we think that there's kind of references in a way, even at some point, that we hope that maybe one day this book will be looked at in the same breath. And I'm paraphrasing here of how it's put of Kingdom Come and Marvels, which are two fantastic books, and
Yeah.
this one is not.
Well,
But
and it does make sense to me now why her red hair stands out so much in all these panels. Like it's at
Why?
night and her red hair is so red
why does it?
because she's Aunt May. I mean, that's
No, but who
Who has
else does
red
Pete-
hair? It's not Aunt May.
Yeah, it's what's her face.
It's
also,
Mary Jane.
You know, notice how
that's right.
I'm glad Mason pointed this out.
Mary has blonde hair.
Yeah.
She looks a lot like Gwen Stacy. Why does Peter's mom and his aunt look like his love interest?
I don't
Why
know.
did they
but
deliberately did that? Why
She's-
did they have to do that?
She.
They could have just been brunettes.
But I'm just telling you, in this picture right here, the first where it says what mom never told us. I mean, she looks to be like in her 30s.
But she's not. She's
You know?
18 here.
Yeah, I know. When you go to the
This
back
is
here,
also-
where she's kissing spina bifida,
Yeah.
she looks very young.
This is also what causes a lot of continuity problems because even with Marissa Tomei, we're insinuating here. Well, actually, never mind. Let me not get ahead of myself story-wise. Let's go ahead and get into issue 3, which is Creepy Girl Blowing Bubble.
That one's not as bad.
It's not as bad.
That one's not nearly as bad.
It's more
Because if you
teeny.
put that next to the one with the girl with the glasses
That
in her
one
mouth,
might have porn in it.
this one
Yeah.
looks like maybe she's being touched
Yeah,
while
it-
she's looking at you.
Oh, yeah,
You
with the
see that?
arm. Yeah, that's, yeah. So then we have a callback to
Why does
issue
Mary
1.
look so weird? Look at her. She
Oh,
looks like a villain.
they
like
took-
she's the only one.
They took the panel. This is from when she's up in the air with a shark attack. They took it from that
Oh,
and then just
yeah.
white ones from all the rest.
Yeah, that's crazy. Look at that. How everybody's got like a nice white panel except for Mary, and she looks like she's in a cave.
There's a
Does she
throwback.
go into a cave?
No, maybe a rave at the cave.
boing.
Wait, you
But-
said Mary's the one?
Yeah.
Mary's the only one? Well,
Yeah.
it's because she hasn't seen the light yet.
of Aunt May.
No, because she hasn't. She's the only one who hasn't embraced the light.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
That's a total guess.
That could be it too. That is a good point.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Why is the kerning so bad on these?
I don't know. Well, some of this could be my scan too, though. Like, this is bigger than an actual comic, so it is stretching it out some.
Yeah, you're right.
So like some of like the pixelation and stuff is the stretch.
Unlike Little Richard, it's pretty big.
But we got to call back to issue 1. She's like, is that it, Richard? Are you done? And he's like, no, baby, I'm just getting started, essentially. So we want to make you know that Spider-Man's dad's better in bed than Uncle Ben. There you go.
Because
I was going to talk about, sorry.
Are you in yet? Are you in yet?
I started talking about Bill Jemas a bit in that interview when they haven't really said if it's continuity or not.
Yeah.
When they talk about it, and he talked about we hope that it's thought of up here and stuff. There's also a point where he won't come out and say essentially that it is. He's like, we want the fans to make that decision for themselves, but we like to think it is. Like they're not saying it.
I also saw some people think it would be an origin for the Ultimate Universe, which. Well, maybe better.
But here's the thing, too, is it seems like that's just thrown in at the end, maybe, after they're realizing, like, nobody's liking this. And here's the thing, too.
Why would you like this so far?
What they were concerned that people might get upset about was that Spider-Man was conceived out of wedlock. Not the fact that I am spoiling what's happening, but that's fine.
We've had 2.5 issues now. And all it is these kids going to this thing, they figure out they're poor, and they're all humping. That's it.
All.
That's all that's happened in 2.5 episodes.
But Mike, that's what teenage girls like, don't they?
So now we get no. This will be better than
that's the part. Right there.
There it is. So now we get intercuts of the two of them banging, of Richie and May banging, while montaged with their significant others talking about how great they are. So like Ben's like, what do you mean I talk about May? Y'all are just jealous because all you have to go home to is your palm, kind of stuff like that. Yeah, and then
I got the best girl at home.
Yeah, essentially that. Mary's like, oh, I don't usually hum. I didn't realize I was doing it. Oh, this is all they had was Brad Monthly. Hum.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said hump.
Well,
I don't usually hump, but
she doesn't,
when I do,
though. Mary doesn't. Mary hasn't.
Yeah.
So that is accurate.
Mary. Yeah.
Is that a CCR song?
Sure. It's a Creedence. Wow. And I'm the old guy in the room. He just made a Creedence Clearwater poll.
No, I am 34 going on 80. I am. I think we've talked about it before.
But it was a good joke.
Waiting to age into my personality.
Enjoyed it
Thank
a lot.
you.
Yeah, it
so like, it's intercut just to make you be
I'll tell people about it at the home tonight, and they're gonna love it.
Sweet. Thanks.
There's going to be so many diapers changed.
We're then cut between after seeing how great their other partners are compared to the other two just banging each other.
Yeah.
Then we see like, oh, man, I kind of feel bad.
Oh, I got this spider on my ass.
You know something weird? Oh, something weird? This is now May and Richie talking.
Okay.
I don't even particularly like you all that much. And Ricky's like, Richie, I actually find you kind of arrogant and obnoxious.
Oh.
And he's like, yeah, well, you're not exactly my type either, May. To be honest, I think you're pretty cheap and slutty.
Oh.
So, I mean, like, and then she's like, I'm cheap and slutty. You're the one who just had sex with his brother's new girlfriend, mister. To which he replies, oh, of course. And now you really care about Ben all of a sudden. She replies, obviously more than you do, jackass. To which he says, you know what? I told Ben when I first saw you, I told him you were a phony and all this I'm so wild crap was just a way of getting back at you, your strict little daddy. Like they get into a fight back and forth and then they're back at it humping because that's how it works.
Well, you got to build up the reserves,
healthy,
I guess.
Teenagers talk like that.
Exactly.
Sure, teenagers talk like that.
Remember, kids,
they hump on the
use
dumpster.
this as life advice too.
Sure.
So I feel mean when I say things like that.
The girls are always wearing horizontal
it's not
stripes
awful,
too.
But then
horizontal stripes.
May is now planning to hook up with Richie.
This is not the face of a teenager.
No, it's not. Neither of them are really.
No, they're really not. I can buy that one though.
Yeah.
This one, that is Betty Davis.
No, that's not. That's Mary Jane Watson, and that's Gwen Stacy. Okay. Like they look so much like it. Gwen Stacy, even the hairband. Come on.
Yeah.
So I remember it with a hairband. I don't know. May wants to sneak off to see Richie a lot now because she's addicted to some Richie.
Was Van Halen.
Really? That's cool. Mine was
Hairbands.
Poison. Yeah.
Oh, you got it.
But she wants to ask
Poison.
Mary.
I
couldn't think of one.
Was poison.
I don't either. I just couldn't think of one. So May wants to sneak off and see Richie, but she wants Mary to lie to Ben about where she is. So she's asking Mary to lie to her boyfriend about where she is while she goes and bangs her boyfriend.
Wow.
Mary agrees. But
I agree with those people who didn't want Spider-Man born out of wedlock.
But then
I just want this to stop.
But then we're cut to Uncle Ben's O-face because, that has to be it.
Well, yeah. And they're doing it in a sand trap.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Ooh.
So, sorry, Mason. It just hit me.
Spider-Man.
This is our most off the rails one, but whatever. There's nowhere to go but down.
So in this one, well, she already did. In this one,
she's we see May back to not banging Richie, but banging Uncle Ben now in the sand pit on a golf course.
So does this comic have the same like back and forth on how the web shooter works? Like whether it's in the skin or if it's like just strapped on or what?
We don't know because we don't know what continuity this is.
There's no Peter. There's no Peter in this story.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little.
Well, no,
one.
there is.
There's a little.
That's not true. By the end, we see little Peter, and I don't mean like a joke. Like we see. Don't we see baby? Yeah, we see baby
we do
Peter.
see baby Peter. I was
and they make sure to tell you, in case you were curious, it's baby Peter. We're knocking you over the head that this is
Peter Parker.
Little baby Peter.
Even though their last names are never said. So
Peter P.
They talk back and forth about, Ben's like, hey, what are we going to do after this? And she's like, why don't you just live in the moment? A lot of stuff like that. We then see that Mary is with Ben and
what does that say?
Something.
Ollie's night?
Oldies night.
Oldies night. Okay.
Mary and Ben are setting up for this Oldies night dance. And Mary is trying to cover for May because Ben's like, May seems kind of cold. I hate that they both have M names. That's what makes it up. But Ben says that May seems very cold. Like, is there something up there? Mary's like, no, it's probably just those guys that made fun of her the other day.
It's true.
And Ben's like, what do you mean? Like, she didn't tell Ben about it. So Ben hunts down those jerks. And Mary
one of them's the Green Goblin.
And Mary is running after him. To which she sees Richie and she's like, Richie, we have to, like, he's going to go beat up that guy. And they're like, hopefully we're not too late. Like the cop, she's like, this is not good. The cop asked like him to stop getting in fights. And so they get there and you think that Ben's probably just killed this guy. Yeah. But really, no, the guy has just knocked Ben's head into a toilet.
Shit out of Ben.
We find out when Mary.
He looks like Kurt Russell.
Yeah, the bully does look like Kurt Russell. Mary asked Richie.
I don't know why that excited me so much. I was like, hey, looks like Kurt Russell.
Mary asked Richie, I thought you said that the cops asked you to quit telling them to quit getting into fights. Yeah, because they were tired of wasting an ambulance trip on them. Apparently, Uncle Ben is all about standing up for people.
He's a lover. He's not a fighter.
Yeah, but he will stick up and for the people he loves. He's just not a fighter kind of. But
wait, what was it? Little Richard?
Little Richie.
But that's Richie, not Ben.
Yeah, Richie and Ben. Okay. It's Richard is his name, but he goes by Richie in this.
Richie is his name, but sex.
And then so Ben's recouping, and
from being beat up.
But that doesn't stop Richie and May from still knocking one out. And she says, God, I feel so guilty. Poor Ben. Well, maybe not just immediately go and hook up with his brother after he's been beat up.
Maybe don't bone while he's out unconscious.
Yeah.
Maybe that would help.
And they're like, maybe we need to tell him this is weird. It's hard. Weird for me to love two guys at the same time. I don't know what to do.
She doesn't love
all of a sudden, Ben walks in.
Not Ben.
But Ben doesn't see because they quickly throw up the covers. And Ben closes the door behind him. And he's like, Richie, just get her out of there. There we go. Richie, I'll get her. I lost where my mic was. He's like, Richie, I'll buy you some time. Mary's coming. So Ben now lies to Mary.
Good God.
Because she's like, hey, I was going to come in and see Richie. And he's like, you can't come into our apartment or our cabin right now. Yeah. And she's like, why not? And he goes, oh, Well, the football team, they're all changing in there.
All of them.
All
50.
And she's like, oh, okay. And then she turns and looks, and she sees the football team or the field hockey team is out there playing.
Oh.
So she's like, okay. But
We
she
have
runs
one
away
quick
anyway.
field
You can
hockey
obviously tell she's upset.
Yeah.
But he's like, all right behind you, Mary. Like, go ahead, get her out. I'll keep her occupied. So now Ben is taking care of or is trying to distract Richie's girlfriend while Richie has sex with Ben's girlfriend.
Ben got hurt bad enough that he needs a neck brace.
Yeah. Oh, it's worse. Like, it gets
All
worse
right.
for poor Ben. Ben is the...
Again, this is not the face of a teenager.
Yeah, Ben is the punching bag through this whole thing. Then we see shots of Richie being nice to Ben, like asking him, hey, if you ever want to use the car, you can, because Richie feels guilty, obviously.
Hey, since I'm boning your girl.
Yeah,
if you ever
Mary
wanna
is
use the
like,
car,
hey,
feel
are you
free.
going to come, like, hang out with us? And May's like, no, I'm going to hang out here at this party and have fun. And it's kind of alluded to that she might be, again, I feel like I need to say this. I'm not commenting on anybody's sexual relationships or habits whatsoever. It's just for this story to make it work. It seems like Mary is very upset by this, but May mentions that it seems like she's sleeping with even more people than Ben and Richie.
Well, you don't want to offend anybody, especially all the weirdos out there that
Exactly.
like it all rough and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, is that our listener base?
Oh, shit. Sorry.
You outed our whole listener base.
BDSM group out there just listening to us.
That's it.
Spanking each other.
Yeah,
and
they just
listening to
play
the
us
show.
at their when they have meetings once a month. They're like, they listen to us.
Well, they play us during their cool down period.
Oh.
That's what gets them all back out the door. It's like, oh yeah, no, I couldn't do it again. No,
like,
I gotta go.
Do we have to listen to the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the kids are.
But
somewhere.
so Mary leaves, and she's.
Can you imagine going into a party and dropping your keys in a bowl?
No,
And
we're not
then-
gonna go down this route though.
What, can you even imagine though?
No.
Like it's just luck of the draw.
Oh yeah.
That's how it works.
No, like I would think we're not going to get to this whole discussion because it's we're not. But I would think that it would work better, obviously, if you like had a some sort of connection before of just being like.
You would think, right?
But then again, like I assume like that's how it works, kind of in the adult industry. Like you show up for work one day.
Sure.
Like I mean, it's
But
not. But that's work. It's
That's a
obviously
job,
that's different.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a job.
Yeah,
There.
it's a job.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe you need to go on with it's a job mindset.
It's not a job though. You made the choice to put your anyway. All right. Oh, the place I used to own those little stores.
Can this
right?
episode be?
Have I told you about that before? How there was a whole neighborhood out there that swung?
And where?
I'm not saying that.
No. I'm sorry. What was the first part you said? I didn't hear the first part.
Whenever I owned the little stores. That I owned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You had like they
would come in and tell me about it.
Oh, really?
They'd
See,
be like,
that's
"Oh
the
yeah,
part-
we live out in this neighborhood,
And we just
tonight
do-
Jenny's keeping the kids because I don't know, she's not feeling it tonight or whatever."
And so you would just go over to somebody else's
Right.
house?
So they would come and get the stuff that I sold to entertain the children while they all went and had their bowl party. Yeah. Why are you telling me this, lady? Get out of here.
That is a lot to share. I feel like that's stuff that you would keep to yourself. But
And buy a candy bar on your way out.
So there is a strip poker game going on at the party before that, I'm sorry. Mary tells Richie that May has been cheating on Ben because she can't hold it anymore.
Yeah.
And Richie pretends to act surprised. Now, there's a strip poker game going on, and we see where May is
Hang on. There's a strip poker game going on
at the party.
At the oldies party that they threw?
Afterward. This is like an after party.
Oh, this is an after party.
Yeah.
This is like the young kids. get
Yeah, the
together.
young kids.
Got it,
and
got it.
May, of course, is standing up, showing everybody her goods because May
Really?
is wild and crazy.
Well, she took her top off and threw it at Mr. Mustache.
Hey, you remember Aunt May? You know, that
Oh, she's
sweet old
nuts,
lady
yeah.
and all that history about how
Yeah.
she, I don't think that I'm say that. I don't really. This is necessarily all mild stuff.
It's old
like
STD May.
Well, no. But like this is all just. Let me finish this issue before I make my point.
He can feel himself getting in trouble.
Well, so Well, it's just I'm not trying to.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you don't want to piss off the weirdos.
Well, no, that's not.
just
fine. Anyway, Mary wakes up the next morning and sees that May is just sitting on her bed. She's like, "Wow, you're up super early," and May's like, "My period's late," and Mary's like, "Yeah, it happens to me all the time." And she's like, "It's 2.5 weeks late," and she's like,
"2.5 weeks."
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, all right. Well, we can go take a rabbit test, which I'll get back to that."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, that's the problem. I already did." She's pregnant. We find out that Aunt May's pregnant. Spoiler alert, it's Richie's baby. Because I'm going to go through these last 2 issues pretty quick because there's not a lot of character development. It's just kind of weird. The brevity that some of the stuff is handled.
So she's pregnant with Richie's
Not brevity,
baby.
I can't do the word. Yeah.
Who turns out to be
Spider-Man's dad. So.
Well, she could be pregnant. She's been sleeping with both of them.
That's true.
It could be either or.
It could be either
I
or.
guess you're right. Okay.
But I think we've essentially kind of spoiled it already by this point. That's kind of my fault.
What a terrible way to unsully Aunt May.
Yeah.
This is
not
terrible.
again. Well, here's the thing. I don't care that if this happened. It's just a character like Aunt May. It seems like
Aunt May's
no
so
reason for it to
or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like taking the old lady from the Sylvester and Tweety cartoons, Grandma, and turning her into like.
It exists on the internet if you want to watch it. Probably.
Well, sure, that's the 34, but
yeah,
still.
Also, a rabbit test. In case you were curious, Mike, I thought it was a nickname. No, apparently, what they would do is they would take. Urine from a potentially pregnant woman and inject it into a rabbit and see if it affected the rabbit's ovaries.
Sure.
And that was a rabbit test. That's how they determined if you were pregnant or not.
Right.
And I read that and I was like, oh, then why did they call it that then? This was in the 40s and the 50s and even into the 60s. They were still using rabbits for pregnancy tests. So, or any kind of animal, or other animals.
Sure. Wasn't this... When was this written?
2002.
It came out 2003 till January
I'm sorry.
2004.
There, thank you. I was off of my ears.
Because it's very like Dirty Dancing, right? The whole thing is Dirty Dancing for the most part, right? Without the dancing. I mean, because you got the pregnancy scare, you got the 60s-ish kind of time frame, you got the whole,
Well, Millar was born in 69, and Dirty Dancing came what? Or mid-'80s, right? So, that's when he would have grown up. Writers take from their favorite things.
Mark Millar was born in 69?
Okay. Is that...
No, it's when I was born in 69. That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
That's cool.
I guess. I don't know.
Wow. I just
had to be born sometime.
I just realized my mom was born in 60.
Oh, yeah.
So you could kind of maybe...
9 years.
Been my dad. Not like you could. I'm just like age-wise, not like you. Are you?
Well, I wanted to tell you something.
Yeah.
For a while now.
Yeah.
I'm not your dad.
That's
what I wanted to tell you.
Issue 4.
Should be a relief.
Issue 4, we get into the most normal of covers out of the whole bunch.
Oh, yeah. See, now that one I don't mind as much, but it still looks like an ABC family show.
Yeah. Here's what I'm going to just breeze through to get us through the rest of the story.
It starts with vomiting.
Yeah, so obviously she's sick.
And I'm sorry, but again, this girl that's vomiting into this toilet, she's 12. The one that we just saw that was scared of being pregnant, she's 32.
Oh, it's the same girl, though.
I'm just telling you, these are two very different
way they're
drawings.
drawn? Yeah.
Yes.
And then she talks about how she never wants to eat anything ever again, and then we get 20 minutes later to where she's ordering everything off the menu because she's pregnant.
She loves those waffles.
They're like, you gotta figure something out. What are you gonna do? And May brings up, I can't go home because we find out that she has an abusive father. Here's the thing, though. It's just dropped in one line, not brought up again until it's needed.
Sure.
It's like just a plot device to be a plot device.
Yeah.
So she's afraid if she tells her very religious father, he'll be abusive to her or even worse, her mother. So she can't do that. But then it's the debate. If she keeps the baby, then she'll feel like a murderer. And then they laugh, though, and Mary's like, it's funny. It's like the fortune tellers, I guess she was completely wrong. Maybe you shouldn't have waited after all. Just joking about it. So what
is up with this guy? What does he care?
He's just overhearing,
He's just
I guess,
a guy
listening.
sitting there's a bunch of them sitting in the
They're
booths, and they're all listening.
Listening in.
Like, how loud are these two girls that are 2 booths away talking that this one guy with the big nose can look back and hear what they're saying?
Very loudly, I guess. Mary thinks about this, like maybe the fortune teller was right. And then in this time of scared May, should I keep the baby or not? My abusive father.
Sure.
We get comical. Mary runs right home and bangs Richie then.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's like, maybe the fortune teller is wrong.
Yeah.
And it's mixed with, for comedic effect, a
wow.
spaceship.
It's a rocket taking off, flowers blooming.
Eggs mixing in a bowl, waves hitting a rock, fireworks.
Where's the train?
And then, there is no train. Then, if it wasn't enough to see Uncle Ben's face, look at a sweaty, drooly Mary Parker there.
Yeah, that's gross.
If you want that. Yeah. And Richie's like, Mary, please, we've been at it for hours, and Shelby's got me starting at 6 a.m. in the morning. And then so he yells out, Mary! Which I guess maybe they were trying to be like, serves him right for being pushy at first. I don't know what the deal is there, but.
You can't set up a good sex montage and not have a train go through a tunnel.
It's lost, right?
Come on.
We then see that Richie is meeting with May the next day, and Richie's kind of like holding himself traumatized by apparently how much sex he's been having with Mary.
Way too much.
Yeah.
He thought he could handle it.
May has him there to tell her.
I'm always so depressed.
Yeah. May has him there to tell her that she's pregnant, just to let him know.
Yeah.
Because she's going to tell both him and Ben.
Oh, okay. All right.
But she's going to tell him, and he's like, why? She's like, I've got something to talk to.
May is telling him?
May's going to, because May's pregnant.
Oh, I thought it was Mary that was pregnant.
No, Aunt May's pregnant.
I'm sorry, man. I'm kind of lost here.
It is. It's because it's May and Mary.
I think that's what it is, yeah. And I'm having a real hard time.
I'm just going to refer to her as Aunt May from this point forward then to make it easier.
This is Aunt May, though, right? With
Aunt
the red
May's
hair?
the redhead.
Okay. Right.
Aunt May is Mary Jane.
Because she does not look... Anyway.
18? Yeah, I know.
It doesn't.
So, instead of using their names, I don't know what that weird was that I did. I'm just going to tell you who they are. So, Aunt May tells Peter's dad, hey, I've got something to talk to you about. Peter's dad, is it easier to do it like that then instead of names?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Go ahead. It's fine.
Peter's dad's like, I've got something to tell you too. That's funny. Well, Aunt May's a little nervous, so she's like, you go ahead first. And he's like, I think we should end this. Like,
my wiener's broke.
Yeah, essentially like Marianne and May's like, so now that you get what you wanted, like you...
Yeah, sure.
And he's like, I'm really shallow. Like, he just flat out tells her, like, I'm really shallow.
Fuck Richie.
Yeah, for sure. You're like, Peter's dad is kind of an asshole, like, through this whole thing. Yeah. And she's like, oh, okay. And he's like, what'd you want to say? And she's like, just that. Yeah, we should, call it off. So she can't tell him. Then we get a montage of her and Ben where it looks like they've just hooked up, too.
No.
And then she's like, hey, I need to talk
These
about
kids
everything.
Need a hobby.
Huh?
They need a hobby.
They do. Well, that is their hobby.
Stamp collecting or something.
It is their hobby. But she says the same thing, like, hey, we need to talk about something. And it happens again. And Ben's like, you're right. I need to talk to you about something too. And Aunt May is determined, I'm going to get ahead of it on this one. And she's like, can I go first? And he's like, sure. She goes, I'm pregnant.
Oh.
To which he replies,
wait, can I do it, Zach?
Well, hold on. I just want to show Mike the face.
Oh, no.
The face. And then I'm going to let Mason read the word bubble before I reveal it.
Punched in the eyeball.
Go ahead, Mason. What does Uncle Ben reply with?
I'm sterile.
I'm sterile.
So
who
it
even
turns
says
out,
that?
So it turns out all those trips to the emergency room, from him in fight, apparently he got kicked in the junk once too hard.
Or it's the x-rays.
Yeah, and it made
He
him
ran into
sterile.
Bobby Hill.
Yeah.
Bobby Hill went
Bobby
in there.
Hill. That's my purse. I don't know you.
I don't
and then
know
boom. But Mary still doesn't know. She just knows that Ben's upset and that she told Ben about the mystery guy.
Yeah.
Mary doesn't know that it's still Richie.
Yeah.
We see Ben back at the cabin, basically packing his stuff. Richie apologizing, and Ben's like, you just couldn't deal with me having something you weren't getting kind of thing. Again, the only character development we get out of anything is that little plot, or that little bit of where Uncle Ben, while he's the oldest, is not the favorite and feels that everything is kind of given, and it seems like it is, to the younger kid.
And he's sterile.
Yeah, well, yeah, like it's just not coming up roses at all.
Yeah, sure.
No flowers for Algernon.
Not coming up at all.
That's kind of a two-way reference.
For
it hurts even more because Ben really liked May.
Yeah, and he really did like May. But
it's a really good pull, by the way.
Yeah,
Good job.
because did you read the book?
No.
It's a book.
Never
The movie, the guy who plays
Did
Charlie.
you just explain to me that it was a book?
It was a book. That's the thing. It has pieces of
It's a
paper in
little
it with
thing
words on it. That
That's
you
a little
read.
thing I like to call
Do you
the
know how to-
Bible. Have you ever seen it?
Do you know how to read, Mike?
Yeah. Do you even know what words are?
But no, the guy who played Charlie in the movie is also the guy who played Uncle Ben in the very first Spiderman
Oh,
movie.
really? Wow.
So Richie apologizes. Ben's like, whatever. He leaves. We then see that Mary and May go to a clinic. It's an abortion clinic. And then what's the best way for her to wrestle with the task of should I or shouldn't I have an abortion? Something very serious
Hot dog eating
that
contest.
we're gonna tackle.
Oh.
No. Devil and Angel on the shoulder is how
yeah,
we're
of
gonna
course,
ride
sure.
it. And
So the
just
good
doesn't
one.
necessarily fit the tone, I feel like.
I don't know which one's good and which one's bad
Especially
here. One of them
4
looks like
issues in. This is the first time they've ever appeared.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
were they?
one of them looks like
During this
Tinkerbell.
whole affair.
When she was trying to, her conscience never appeared until she had to potentially go through with an abortion. But
Wow.
so
weird.
they're like, do it this way,
Would
do
you
it
say
that way.
2000 what?
2003 is when it was released. 2003 to 2004. I will say one thing that was a little concerning dialogue was the evil Mary Jane, the evil Aunt May, said, "Atta girl, May, I'm proud of you, honey. You're going to have a great day at this abortion clinic. Trust me, liquidating that little creep's going to be like passing.
God.
Hold on. Liquidating that little creep's going to be like passing a bad Mexican meal. Yuck, yuck, yuck."
Oh, wow. That is rough. And Mason, that's worse than anything I've said here today.
Oh, I know.
That really is.
But
That's terrible.
So
They could get away with it in 2003.
that
Oh,
is
sure.
true. So we then
Liquidating.
try to see, she's like, she's trying to figure out what to do. If only there were a third option. Well, there is a third option, apparently. She wakes up, steals all the money that her best friend had been saving to run away and just not go back home.
This is
So now we
wait,
see
She doesn't
Who
want
is-
to. She doesn't want to go back home.
she doesn't want to
because
go
her
back to
dad-
deal with her dad.
Wait, who stole all the money? May?
Aunt May stole again.
Jesus.
This is very Aunt May like. Aunt May stole all of Spider-Man's mom's money, and then went hitchhiking to get away because she didn't want to go back to deal with her dad, and she didn't want to get an abortion.
Yeah, that's very
So,
Aunt May.
She's picked up by this dude who kind of looks like Smokey from Smokey and the
He does
Bandit.
look like Smokey.
And they just kind of hitchhike away.
Okay.
She leaves this whole note for Spider-Man's mom about like, hey, this is what I couldn't deal with anything.
Like,
So
I'm
I've
sorry.
I'm sorry. I'll pay you back whenever we get there.
Sorry, but you suck. Bye.
Yeah, it comes down to the last
Oh,
one,
goodness.
and I'm not going
I don't
to.
like that cover either.
Yeah, it's kind of weird on the last one. It's a recap. We find out that apparently the guy that she has been staying with.
Smokey.
Oh, to your point about how maybe they hadn't seen the light, even after the sex montage, she still has the blue background.
Okay, then whoever
So,
edited this,
yeah, they just
was lazy.
It was bad at it.
Here's the thing: is she writes in her diary again? The diary we haven't seen since the first issue. It comes back just to explain like what's going on. She's apparently living with this guy who imports shower curtains. What he does with them, I don't know. But she tells her diary that he's a very bad man that you won't want to meet. So they must be bad shower
I
curtains.
want you to look at these pictures again, though. You see how blue it is with Mary?
Mm-hmm.
May is a little blue.
Mm-hmm.
Ben is tiny bit blue. Richard has no blue.
This is really
You see
riveting,
that?
Mike.
You see what I'm saying, though?
I do see what you're saying.
Like, there is, I mean, it does look intentional.
It
Like,
probably is.
it does look like there's an intention here.
Maybe.
I don't know what it is, but it does look like there's
I don't
something
think
there.
they're on the. I don't know.
Anyway,
But so this guy that she's staying with, she's making up lies so she doesn't have to sleep with him and hoping that he doesn't find out that she's pregnant. She likes to think that maybe in some other world that her and Ben could still be together, and
sure.
Richie and Mary are just having a blast.
Like an ultimate world.
We then see that we then see that she's apparently calling her house and not talking, and her dad answers like, "Hey, May, if this is you, we just want want to know if you're okay. Like, just let us know, please."
May,
She
come
just
home. You've
hangs
missed
up.
3 beatings.
Something that's never been brought up before is now. But then she hangs up on him,
Sure.
and then she decides because she needs so much help, she calls Mary, and Mary essentially.
Bitch, where's my money?
Well, there's that, and she's also said that I showed up just to hopefully see you in pain.
Oh, Jesus.
And she's like,
Whoa.
I'm sorry that I slept with Richie. I was stupid and slept with Richie a couple times. And Mary's like 47 times. And
47?
I'm sorry I did something stupid and slept with Richie 47 times. Like, it's Mary, who has been so nice and so supportive, complete character change for this last one.
So like vitriolic.
And it's just like, I want you to die.
Well,
she says,
I'm glad you're getting beaten.
Yes, here it is. She goes, and what's happened right now, are you getting hit? Because she's wearing sunglasses. And Aunt May says, this new guy, Spider-Man's mom says, this new guy slapping you around. And she's like, why? And he goes, sunglasses? Oh, yeah. Oh. And Spider-Man's mom says, good. I cannot talk. Let's go with Mary Parker says, good. You deserve it. You deserve every kick and every punch. In fact, I hope he hits you so hard sometime you end up in the hospital and lose your stupid baby.
Oh, my God.
I get being mad. You deserve to be mad, but that's just, what the fuck?
Stupid baby.
I will say it's also ironic. It's nice to see Hank Pym make an appearance after being in the Ultimate show up. No, but so eventually though, Mary comes around because there is a little bit of decency in there, and they're trying to come up. She doesn't know what to do. Aunt May basically tells her, if I wasn't afraid it'd hurt the baby or they could still save the baby, I'd just kill myself at this point.
Wow.
Like, my life is so bad is essentially what she tells her.
This is what teenagers deal with.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, teenagers do deal with this.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but
this is meant for young teenagers.
This is meant for
That's it, right? I mean,
this is in the wheelhouse. This was for 9 to 12-year-olds, Mike. I think like that's what they were basing on. I think what I read was, but still, even teens, 13, 14. Does this sound like something your 13-year-old would have read? No, it's not even the fact that it's meant for them. It's just nobody read it. This turned out to be a failure for obvious reasons. That sounded very harsh and I don't mean for it, but the story's not necessarily something that the fans got behind.
I don't blame them.
And it's not necessarily the thing about romance comics is they weren't good then.
Well,
they're not good now, and people who want good romance in this kind of like genre have found it, or like in a readable comic fashion have found it probably in like manga and things like that.
The other issue with this is
plus you got to make sure that the people the characters like each other, and you gotta focus. Yeah. Focus on two characters.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say is like
the
other issue with this is not a whole hell of a lot happens.
No, it's just a bunch of.
I mean, it's just teenagers screwing and then being all angsty about it.
Yeah,
it's episodes of Dawson's Creek.
Well, but worse.
So she doesn't know what to do. Mary's like, I got a plan,
which I didn't think you could do. But.
We got a plan. We then fast forward. It says 6 months later, and we see Richie back at home working on his car. And his dad's like, why do you keep riding that girl? He's apparently been riding Mary ever since she found out about him sleeping with May, riding her, trying to win her back.
Writing.
I swear. Not riding.
God, I thought you said
W-R-I. No,
get out of the gutter, Mike. And even though clearly
you're the ones that brought me here.
She's so amazing.
Yeah, and he's just riding her.
He like one time, and he's like smitten.
So she shows up with a baby.
Yeah.
And she's like, I didn't write you back because I was going to give him up for adoption and all of this. Doesn't he look like his grandpa? Like, hey, like little baby Peter. This is baby Peter. What they have concocted. And we'll find out later. He's wearing a damn
shirt again.
He is. That shirt shows back up. So Mary is using this. She told May as a test to see if Richie really does care about me the way he says he does, then he will take me back with this baby, because I can't even stand the thought of being with somebody, if I were to get back with him, who would abandon his kid like this.
Yeah, sure.
So it is his child. Yep.
Well, the other one, he's shooting blanks.
Yeah. So so she shows up with it to test him. And of course, Richie does really apparently love Mary, so takes her back. We flash forward. They tell how it happened. Like, apparently, they let Aunt May just stay at the resort while she had the baby, and then they came back to town, kind of, so they didn't have to come back and her be pregnant in town and all that. Sure. Mary's like, she was worried of what Mary's family would think. Mary's family was just kind of like overjoyed of like, hey, They love their daughter. She's
Yeah.
like, my parents knew that something must have been happened, but they were just happy it wasn't a scandal when I come back.
Right.
Like, it just kind of seems a little unreliable narrative sense in that.
Well, it seems
we
like
base it all of just what she tells us when nothing else. It's like only brought up as a. Because they seem very happy to see her. The art just betrays a different image.
But what
it also feels like this is supposed to be a lot longer. But
that's
really
what I was gonna say, right? It's like
5.
they just went, okay, we got to end this thing.
Yeah.
Well,
and there's another reason why with the continuity that it feels that they kind of retcon some of this at the end too. It does feel rushed just to kind of wrap it up. And then we flash forward to like a year and a half later.
He couldn't do originally because he didn't have any of those thingies. He couldn't wrap it up.
He didn't have the what you calls it or whatever. Yeah.
That's why we're here.
We get flash forward a year and a half later to Richie and Mary's wedding. Yeah, that's Aunt May looking more Aunt May like. But here's the thing. She is still 21 here, essentially.
That's what I'm saying.
If even that, maybe 20. What 21-year-old dresses like a 85-year-old librarian?
She looks like a librarian. She really does, yeah.
But
even her face has changed.
But that is the typical, I get they're trying to make her look more like Aunt May.
Sure.
Also, I mean, I get maybe they became friends again. I don't get why she was invited to the wedding.
Well, yeah, she is invited to the wedding a year and a half later. She bumps into Ben at the wedding because obviously Richie's getting married. Ben's going to be there.
Sure.
And they talk about their significant others at the time. And
he shook hands with Richard Nixon.
And May tells Ben, because he's like, how's the baby? And she's like, lost him in the first trimester. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Because Ben doesn't know. Like, Ben thinks they play it off. The girls play it off to Ben and Richie because Richie and Richie had sex with both girls.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he's like, I didn't have. And she's like, yeah, we did. And he's like, oh, you know that montage? That's basically put in there, I guess, so they can just
so
trick
he doesn't
Richie into
remember
thinking.
it?
He didn't at first. And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess we did. So Richie believes that it's really Mary's baby.
Huh. Okay.
And Ben believes that it's really Mary's baby. The only people who know are May and Mary.
So these two guys are just idiots.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, okay.
And they're like, oh, good to see you. They have a throwback to, essentially though, he leaves, I'm not even going to put that, it's not important. He leaves his number with her. And it's kind of leads you to believe that, you know, obviously she calls later and then they end up getting together and that's, you know, Uncle Ben and Aunt May.
Which
I will add real quick. Sorry, I missed me to cut you off. On Ben's number, they went to put 1963, which is kind of an homage of when Spider-Man debuted because Spider-Man #1 came out in 1963, but he appeared in Amazing Fantasy number 15, which came out in 1962.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
that is why the
that's
63 is
pull,
there.
Though. I don't mind
for sure.
That. Yeah.
That is a decent pull, but that's what the 63 is for there. I'm sorry, Mason.
One thing I just really don't like about this ending is, I mean, I get maybe, but, you know, I get people who cheat can be forgiven. They can, but she cheat on you with your brother.
Yeah.
I don't get how you could ever get over that.
I don't know.
If anybody else but his brother, that's just, I don't know why that bothers me so much.
No, it is. Well, it should.
It's gross, is what it is.
Yeah.
But I just don't. It seemed like a weird thing to retcon, like to make her his mom. It's plausible, but here's the thing where the problems happen is because Aunt May has always been pictured as an older woman. And now, essentially, she would be, when Peter Parker was Spider-Man at like age 16, she would really only be like 34 years old. So she'd be even younger than Marissa Tomei is right now.
Yeah.
Like if you follow this.
Yeah. And then also they reference how the fortune teller was Miss Gray, like Jean Grey.
Oh, really?
Oh, did they? I missed that one.
Which doesn't make any sense
no,
timeline-wise.
They do also, though, I felt like as like a retcon at the end, they're like, oh, here's my dad's friend, Bucky Barnes, because at the time, Bucky was dead in the regular Marvel continuity, so I was like, oh, yeah, this has to be Ultimates.
Yeah, because in the Ultimate Universe, Bucky, just lived. So, like,
I don't know. But yeah, so
we should always forget this story.
So long story short, Marvel decided to get back into romance comics. They hired the guy who had did Ultimates, but would go on to do Good. I will say there's a lot of Mark Miller stuff I do enjoy.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, if you just pulled Kick-Ass out,
yeah.
that's all you needed.
Yeah, but Civil War for all, and a bunch of different things there. There's a lot of stuff that is liked, and he is a good writer.
He's a good egg.
And the Dodsons are both good artists.
Yeah.
This project as a whole, I just feel misses the mark. And so it was Marvel attempting to bring back romance comics and said they should have left them. Funny enough, Mike, you realize we haven't reviewed any more modern romance comics, right?
It didn't
kind of just died there.
It didn't miss the mark though. He's in every one of these.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Thanks.
Very funny. One good recommended romantic book, not necessarily romance, but has good romantic elements. Mr. Miracle from 2017 is if you want some good romance.
I do like Mr. Miracle, and make sure to emphasis on the 2017 one, because Mike and I have talked about the Action Comics run back in the 80s. Remember where?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
What was the guy where he mind controlled Superman and Mr. Miracle's wife?
Oh yeah.
Have the point. Yeah, Big Barda too.
I remember that. Yeah.
Oh man.
People wrote that. People wrote and drew that.
Well, here's my issue. After having been introduced to all of this and talked through it and stuff, I see what they were doing, and it's not a terrible concept.
No, it's not.
Right? I think you really screwed it up with these covers.
Yes.
Number one, I think you scared the shit out of people with these.
Oh, I'm leaving these here. I'm not taking them back with me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think you just scared the shit out of regular people, right? And then you get inside, it's nothing like this. It's nothing like the covers. I think if you put normal covers on these, they might have done better. Again, it's a stupid story, but
also I think,
but it's not awful.
If they were
it's not awful.
Upfront about this being if they kept the parents down, we're upfront that it's Peter's parents and May and Ben.
Yeah,
it would have been received better because you were just trying to trick you for some reason.
It does.
Yeah.
It does feel like they're trying to pull one over on you
I
and then go,
think-
see?
I think also it's because of who you picked. Like you could have picked a different character and had like a very similar story. As long as it wasn't just Aunt May. Like I think it was the fact that it was Aunt May.
That is a weird one. Yeah.
But
plus there's plenty of romances in the Marvel universe.
That's
you could
true,
have easily
too.
just picked.
Yeah.
Just literally off the top of my head, Jean and Scott, or Cyclops and Jean Grey.
Well, these
Mr.
are
and Sue Storm
Fantastic,
and Mr. Fantastic.
these are
off the top of my head.
This is just one of those
Plenty
where
of romance
it
stuff.
seems like they just were too smart for their own good. They just outsmarted themselves.
yeah,
is
they
what
both
it
went
is.
on to do better stuff than this. So good on them for bouncing back.
Does he ever talk about this run?
So here's the thing. I will tell you, I haven't seen anything besides like where he explained like the covers and stuff.
Yeah.
There was, I don't remember when it is. There's a run later in the Ultimate Avengers that he came back and did a story for. And I just read about this. I know nothing about the storyline, so I can't answer too many questions if you have them.
Right.
But there's a character called Nerd Hulk. Do you
Nerd
know what
Hulk.
this is?
No, I don't know what Nerd Hulk is.
So it's a form of Bruce Banner, I guess, in one of these other universes or something like that. And in the storyline that he's doing, he's headed to a con to visit Mark Miller he's sneaking out of the Avengers Tower and he's kind of knocked out by somebody. And they're like, let's see what he was sneaking out of there with. Well, it turns out he was going to get something signed by Mark Miller. And you know what slides out? Issue 1 of Trouble. So Mark Miller's making fun of it too.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of funny though, honestly.
Yeah.
That
He
is
was going to go get his issue 1 of Trouble.
Wow. I had no idea.
it'd be worth something
sorry. You're
somewhere to somebody.
I just didn't realize, and you've told me all this, but when you look at Mark Miller, whatever I didn't realize, number one, that he's Scottish.
We've talked about that before.
Okay, again, I don't know. But like you said, Kick-Ass, which is great.
Yeah.
I think you said Kingsman. Then you said Wanted a while ago, but that didn't really connect with me until I saw the cover. You said Red Sun.
Oh yeah, we've covered a lot of Mark Miller on here.
Yeah, Ultimate Avengers. Logan.
Old Man Logan.
I didn't
Old Man
realize he
Logan.
did
yes.
a Logan. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then Civil War.
Yeah.
And then there was another one that I thought you were going to say that I saw the other day. I completely
Life
forgot
After Flash. Is that the one?
Yeah, that was it. Life After Flash. I found out. Speaking.
This
that
is
he's already,
that's a really talented resume.
Oh yeah,
is what I'm
Jupiter's
saying,
Legacy.
yeah.
Jupiter's Legacy was the other one.
Jupiter's Legacy. Yeah. The one they kicked off Netflix.
They're already talking about doing a third installment of Nemesis. He already has the story for number 3. I know we love that.
I just don't. I think Nemesis is well intentioned again, like this series, but I just don't think it's very good.
But it's fun.
Yeah, no, it's fun
to talk about.
Yeah,
like it's fun for us.
I just think as far as comics go, it's not great.
No, so that's what we had. I figured we'd do romance for Valentine's Day. Next week we start a dive. We have back-to-back kind of deep dives I'm getting into before we get. I went into it a little bit, and I'll just explain a little bit more. We're going to take a look into the evolution or de-evolution, depending on how you feel about it, of Frank Miller as told through the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, I like this one.
So we're going to do Dark Knight Returns. I'm sorry, Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight Returns, Strikes. I always get them wrong. It's
Dark Knight Returns,
Dark Knight Strikes Again, Master Race. We're going to do the 3 books next 3 weeks. Look at Frank Miller. We're going to have good, and then we're going to have what I know is epically panned. So we're going to do really good, really bad, and then I don't know anything about the third one, so we'll see how that one we get to. Then we're going to take a look into an all-time, what is maybe considered the greatest graphic novel of all time. We're going to break it down into 2 weeks because it's a lot to get to in The Watchmen.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll take a look into...
You might need to do that one in 3 weeks, honestly.
We might.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll set for a month.
Watchmen's a huge one.
That's 12 issues.
Yeah.
So
they're really dense issues.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of talking.
Oh yeah, Alan Moore does like to talk a lot.
A lot of talking.
I'm gonna have to plan that out.
Have you ever seen the original scripts for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll also stick with Alan Moore, and we'll look into some horror comics, and also it's going to transition into our next run that I have. I thought we'd look at some James Gunn stuff because Alan Moore's Swamp Thing is what they're looking at for the James Gunn movies. And then I figure we can cover Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman after that.
All right, that sounds cool.
So a lot of stuff to get to.
I'm going to try to get Mark Millar. I'm going to try to contact him.
He has his own podcast.
Does he?
Yeah.
Does he really?
Yeah. I hope it's called Miller Time, but I don't think it is.
I think it's that, right? Millar World.
Maybe he just had Jeff Johns on like a couple days ago.
Like his brand.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that he's got like these things set up on Twitter, the whole thing.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Where can they find us?
They can find us at roguemedianetwork.com.
Sorry, this one took a while.
And where's the where do they find us online?
On Instagram, BroFoHero, or on Twitter at Bros, Foes, and Heroes, or email us, brosfoesandheroes@gmail.com. I'll spell it out.
Jamal.
As always, thank you for taking the time out to listen.
Hey, thank you. This was fun.
Really?
I enjoyed it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's terrible, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great.
We're going to get into good stuff next week.
This is the point of this show, honestly.
I always like to think it's just a good conversation between you and I.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's not. It's this.
Well, you all guys got to hear my heartbreak.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, but until next week, everybody.
It was great, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Until everybody, I cannot talk. Until next week, stay safe, everybody.
Golly con.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.